Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So on the agenda tonight we have Carly Simon, and this is going to be coming from 1971 and she's going to be playing through her track Anticipation. So let's get Carly up on screen and see how she gets on. And there we have it. So a bit of a short video tonight, but what I love about this performance and about this whole time around in the 70s and singer-songwriters is that it wasn't enough just to be able to sing well and to carry a melody and write well. You had to be good at your instrument as well. And by the way, Carly's just making her way over to the piano because she's going to be accompanying herself on the piano for the next track. But just having that ability to play guitar, to strum out the chords, but also play piano and sing, you had to have such a wide skill set back in these days because all the other singer-songwriters really raised that bar up. So in order to stick out, you just had to be better than them. Certainly starting the track with just guitar and vocals takes a lot of ability, but it also takes a lot of confidence. And the reason that I mention that is because Carly struggled with stage fright all the time. And you wouldn't think it to look at this performance, but it got to the point where I think on a TV show I read that she was doing some backing vocals and she had to pre-record those because she was crippled with stage fright. So looking at this performance makes it even more impressive. Another thing that you'll notice in the first verse, you can rewind it and just have a little look where Carly smiles because something's happening off stage and you can hear the mic picking it up. So some clanging going on or something, but she just continues on, just keeps on smiling and performing. Natural musicians and performers will just continue on going, and generally their performance won't suffer no matter what's going on behind the scenes or at the side of the stage to try and put them off. And starting with just the voice and the acoustic guitar, when the rest of the band come in, it gives it a great dynamic change. It's going to keep it interesting, but this song is a short performance that we've got here, but the song is interesting in itself with the lyrics effects and the vocals and all the instrumental elements that are added in just make it even more interesting. And we have that great part in the chorus where that lyrical content is actually replicated musically with the rest of the band and the arrangement. So where she says "making me wait," we then go into an elongated drum fill. And we're waiting, and it's really clever and it's really cool. One of those things that's totally intentional, but it just goes to show the depth of the writing. We've got some great live backing vocals here as well, which obviously give it that extra dimension. But when I was talking about the depth of the writing, for me, that very last line of the track, where we repeat it a few times, where she says, "These are the good old days." I mean, pretty much from the 50s onwards was just an explosion of musical expression and musical artists and bands. So looking back, these were the good old days, and Carly's written that into a song. Obviously at the time, it's just a lyric. It doesn't really make any sense. That talking about what now is the good old days doesn't make sense. Having that insight in order to write a lyric like that, it's just, again, a really cool depth to her writing, and that's why she's just such a legendary songwriter. And just on that, Carly's got 5 platinum albums, and her best of album has gone platinum 3 times over. You do not get those kind of sales by releasing an album that might just have 1 good track on there, or maybe 2 good tracks, and then the rest are filler. You've got to have all killer in order to get those kind of record sales, and I mean, just hitting platinum is just impressive in itself, but then to put all of the best tracks on 1 album and then sell that 3 times platinum. I think with Carly, the music was just in the blood, because her dad was a classical pianist and her mum was an activist and a singer. And it's interesting as well, at age 8, she actually had a stammer, so Carly really struggled to speak. And that's when she started singing, because she found that she could sing fine. There weren't any stammers in the words when she was singing, but then when she came to talk, that's where the stammer became evident. And I think that's one of those things that actually happens with quite a lot of people, that they struggle to get the words out talking, but then saying a phrase in a song, for some reason, it then becomes easier. So Carly actually started singing with her sister Lucy, and that was between the years of 1964 and 1969, where they released 3 albums, but in 1969 that's where they then stopped, because Lucy went away to have a family, and that's where Carly then started to pursue that solo career. So just a year later, in 1970, Carly signed with Elektra Records, and she went on to record her self-titled album, which she released in 1971, the same time as this performance, and that's just self-titled Carly Simon, but that also included the single "That's the Way I've Always Heard It Should Be," which, interestingly, in this performance, that's where she's now going to the piano to perform that track. But that track got to number 30 in the charts, and the album overall got to number 10. This was a busy year for Carly, because she recorded her debut album but also released Anticipation, which was her second album in the same year. Of course, we've just heard the title track to that album, and that got to number 3, this track, in the easy listening charts. So it was a breakthrough hit for her. The album overall got to number 30, which was exactly the same as her previous album. And I think from what I've read, this track was used on a Heinz ketchup commercial, but I'm not sure. I haven't seen it myself, but apparently it might be well known from that. And an interesting fact about this song is that Carly wrote it in 15 minutes, and she wrote it when she was waiting to get picked up to go on a date. And that date was going to be with Cat Stevens, who's also on this channel somewhere. You can find him. He's now changed his name to Yusuf Islam. In 1972, she married James Taylor, who was another great singer-songwriter, and he's on this channel as well if you want to find out about him. But 1972 to 1973 was Carly's real breakthrough. She's already well known, but then she had this monster hit called You're So Vain, and that got to number 1, and the album that track was on, called No Secrets, that stayed at number 1 on the album charts for 5 weeks in a row. And in 1973, her single called The Right Thing to Do got to number 4 in the charts, so that was again a massive hit. And then a year later, her album called Hotcakes, that got to number 3 in the album charts, so that was an instant success. In 1975 and 1976, Carly released 2 more albums. Unfortunately, the sales weren't as good as the previous albums, but then in 1977, she recorded a track called Nobody Does It Better, which was part of the James Bond soundtrack for The Spy Who Loved Me. It was the Bond theme. So that was a massive hit, and that went to #1 for 7 straight weeks. Her 1978 album called Boys in the Trees, that went platinum, so there were no problem with the sales on that album. The next album that she did was her last one with Elektra Records, because that one was called Spy, and that unfortunately didn't get the same sales as that previous album. In 1980, now with Warner Brothers Records, she released her album called Come Upstairs, and it was during a show to promote that album that she collapsed on stage due to exhaustion. So throughout the 1980s, she performed a lot less, but on that album she still had a monster hit, sold over 1 million copies, called Jessie, and that track was in the charts for almost 6 months. Moving forward to 1988, Carly recorded a track called Let the River Run, and that was featured on a film at the time called Working Girl. And for that track, she won an Academy Award, a Golden Globe, and a Grammy, and she was the first ever artist to win all of those awards with a track that she had not only written, but solely performed. Fast forwarding to 1997, Carly had cancer and had to be operated on in that year, and also went through chemotherapy. And in the year 2000, she released her album called The Bedroom Tapes, which was an album that was just literally recorded at home in her bedroom while she was going through that recovery process from 1997 up until 2000 from that previous illness. In 2010, over in the UK, she actually performed with her son and did a little bit of promotion, appeared on a few TV shows over here to promote her album called Never Been Gone. She was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 1994, 1995 and 1998, and also into the Grammy Hall of Fame for her track You're So Vain, and that was in 2004. But she's had such a successful and long career, achieved so many things, I'm not going to be able to fit it all into this video, but thank you so much for suggesting this in the first place. Keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one.